Hi guys, welcome back to the Max Spence Business Podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Matt from MADA Partners. I'll let you tell the viewers a little bit about yourself and your business.
Essentially, I got into real estate by accident. I bought my first house and I realized that, hey, I'm young, I can start house hacking. So I invited a couple friends to rent a few rooms for me, and I realized that I brought my expenses to living in the property at zero. And then I soon realized that real estate's got so much power, and especially you can leverage your property to get into real estate. So what I did essentially is I bought my first house, rented a couple rooms out, and then I renovated a little bit, sold it, and then started growing my portfolio like that, just buying a bigger and bigger house. And then I started getting into rentals in Ottawa and then in New Brunswick. And I brought in a mentor to kind of help me scale my business. And soon I realized with him that I should be looking down south in the US. And for around 6 years, 5.5, 6 years now, we've been full-time in the US. I have a partner that's with me, that's helped me grow the business. And we have an awesome team that without them, we wouldn't be where we are today. So we're pretty excited. We actually got 9 projects on the go. We're trying to raise a little bit more money right now to build a 8-unit in Philadelphia. So it's been busy for us, that's for sure.
All right, awesome. That's very awesome. So how did you so you started buying properties in Canada, New Brunswick, and then sort of you met your mentor and he told you about going to the US just for the returns were better. So how did you actually settle on going into Philadelphia and make those connections in the Philadelphian market?
It's a good question. So essentially I brought in my mentor to help me scale my business in Canada and to help me improve my systems. And he told me, he's like, Matt, you should really consider going to the US. So it took me a couple months to ponder the idea. Then I realized, okay, let's take the next step. And he actually met some younger developers in Philadelphia that were a little bit ahead of me into the real estate investing game. And we connected. They actually had 2 projects under their belt, less than $600,000 US retail of new construction. And I partnered with them around 5.5 years ago, and I've been with them ever since. We have a great relationship, and the beauty about these guys is, you know, they have so much in the pipeline that we're having a hard time keeping up with our own capital. We got to keep raising more capital to do these projects, but we have enough to do up to $125 million of new construction for the next 3 years. So it's been a fun journey. And what I really like about the guys is, they're great people. They have the processes down pat, and they put out a really, really good product. And I think, those 3 traits, the 3 Ps, the people, the process, the product, really make a big difference at the end of the day when we're trying to resell our properties, rent them out, and so forth.
Okay, awesome. So how did you actually find your mentor? Because I know like a lot of people that maybe are young, like so let's say somebody my age who's 19 or who's just getting into sort of the who maybe has just graduated from university and has decided that they're interested in real estate. How did you actually find your mentor? So
I'm part of our local real estate meetups or organization in our city, and I met him there. He was actually, I believe, the vice president, the president of the organization. He was putting on a weekend course on real estate investing. I couldn't make it, and what I did is I sent my wife to actually take the course. So I paid for my wife to go there, take the notes for me, and then when I picked her up at the end of the course, they were running around 2 hours behind on the course, and I sat in the back of the room, and I struck a conversation with them. We met a few times for coffee, and it took me a little bit of hesitation to really take the step and bring on a mentor. But it's really what I think opened up my eyes and opened up my vision to see things a little bit bigger than I had a vision. And it's brought clarity on the way we want to grow our company right now. So that's essentially how I met him.
Okay, yeah, that's very interesting. So let's jump back to actually the Philadelphia market and doing development. And you're saying that you guys do a lot of construction right now. What made you decide to go into, let's say, construction are you doing multifamily, or are you doing like different types like office, new construction, or is it just multifamily?
So our team does quite a lot. We do anywhere from single family home, new construction, rehab, flips, all the way up to 40, 60, 70 unit buildings. So we're well versed into spreading the risk. Um, and the portfolio is really, before post COVID, was quite simple. It was around, my partners were doing around 30% flips or new construction and sell them off, and then 70% hold. We're a little bit higher. We were around 70% new construction flips and 30% buy and hold for the long term. We actually just sold one of our last hold buildings in February, right before the virus. It was a commercial building that we had. So I'm kind of happy that I'm out of the commercial space. My partners are still very active in the commercial area, but the main focus moving forward is really going to be in residential construction. We're still going to do a little bit of mixed use, just because the neighborhoods that we're involved, we want to bring in, the small businesses, the hair salon, the restaurant, and so forth, because we're actually building communities, building environments where there's no businesses in these neighborhoods that we're investing. But the long-term goal is essentially to start doing definitely for the next 3 years, is we're going to be more of a balanced portfolio where we're doing 50% new construction and the resale, and then 50% long-term build and hold.
Okay. So, what advice would you have to somebody who's looking to actually get into the U.S. market? Because you're from Canada, and you've broken into the U.S. market, and you've partnered with another company to work on these projects. What would you say to somebody who's maybe does real estate in, let's say, Ottawa, Canada, or Toronto, or whatever, right? Somewhere in Canada, and they have a few properties, and they're looking to start buying in the U.S. What would be your recommendations for them to get into the U.S. market?
I think at the end of the day, when you're investing in real estate, you have a saying where it's real people investing in real people. You're not really buying into the property or anything like that. You really got to be able to trust your boots on the ground. And I think you just got to be able to find somebody that has a track record, or partner with somebody that already has the connection. Build yourself that credibility, build yourself that experience working with outside partnerships, outside developers. And that's essentially what we're doing. We've had a really, really good relationship with these guys for the last 5 years. We're starting to look at different markets now in the US. With the COVID, we kind of put a little kibosh to that for now, just to see what's going to happen in the near future. But we're sticking to a model where, where we're buying cheap, we're building for cheap, and we're able to get our money back or capital back 98% of the time. We're able to get 100% and 98% loan to value back. So on the money that we put in, so we're pretty happy with the results. But at the end of the day, it's just finding the right people, surround yourself with the right people. Sometimes you're going to have those conversations where, they're not the greatest conversations to have. You have delays, you have overruns and stuff like that. But if you have great partners, great people, and you got to be able to be open to communication, I would say too. Like, it's, with this COVID thing, it's really changed the way we're going to be doing business moving forward. And we still trust our partners. Like, even though we did nothing for 3 months in the US, it's part of the game, part of the investment. And I'm actually looking forward to what the future holds for us.
Okay, nice. Thank you for that. So right now you did the whole process of setting up, like, you have your company, you've set up partners in the U.S., which now you can start doing new construction in the U.S. How do you go about finding, for in the real estate industry to grow fast, you need capital, right? So how do you go about finding, investors or new capital for people that want to invest into the system that you've already created?
The best thing to do is, I've been in sales my whole life, so I've been reaching out to people that, I know I've invested in real estate. B, that I know have a little bit deeper pockets than me. So prime example is that is my current business partner. He was doing a lot of my real estate transactions in Ottawa, and he was notarizing all my paperwork from New Brunswick when I was really active in New Brunswick. And he saw the work that I was doing, and with the help of my mentor, one day he's like, Matt, you should start growing your business. And that's the one thing with a mentor. He helped me see the big picture. I'd rather have 10 pieces of a pie than only have 2 pies. So I brought in my business partner, Dave Capra, on board. We're 50-50 partner. Now he's a lawyer and a managing partner of a big law firm here in Ottawa. And that's essentially how I started. I went to somebody that I knew. The first meeting was easy. He said, okay, sign me up. And no questions asked. I'm like, oh my God, it's pretty easy to raise capital. But I guess it was just a relationship I had with him. I was able to get a yes right away. But raising capital, it's long. You have to create a trust. And look, last week, I had a really good opportunity. I was able to raise some money for a deal that we're bringing on board next week, and it took me 15 minutes to raise the capital. I got 10 no's from this gentleman, but I guess I did not have the proper project for him, or goals weren't aligned on this one. It was a perfect fit, and I got the yes, and within 15 minutes. So it's just having relationships with people, staying on top of things. Even if that person's not right for the project, you still inform them, in your funnel of investors, hey, this is what we're working on. Some people might be interested, some might not, but we're pretty fortunate that overall we have a great team behind us. And I think that's why people believe in us when they're investing with us.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, we covered sort of you get into the US, you get in your systems up for pretty much, doing that new construction and partnering with that company, and a little bit about now finding the capital to actually put those projects into use. So let's go personally. What do you like the most about actually real estate? Like what do you find the most fun? Is it the marketing? Is it the sales? Is it the people you're meeting? Is it getting to see like the new development that happens by creating value for people in that neighborhood?
I think at the end of the day, it's the positive change that real estate does in communities. So I remember the first time I invested in Philadelphia, I sent my money up, looked it up on Google Maps, and I was like, all right, we drove down. It was February, brought my wife for Valentine's Day to do some business in Philly. We drove up. And then when I got there, I was like, oh shit, what did I do? It's what you see on paper, and what you see on paper and what you actually see in real life are two different things. And with time progressing, it's amazing to see how the neighborhoods are changing. I believe that was around a year and a half ago, 2 years, we were eating at a little restaurant in one of the neighborhoods that we invest in. And I asked the owner, I said, what made you open a restaurant? She was from California. She said she sold everything. She saw that this neighborhood was an upcoming neighborhood. So she bought a whole bunch of land. She built her restaurant. She goes, I was maybe 3 years ahead of the curve, but she goes, I had time. I had the money. I had the capital. And she was one of the first restaurants in the neighborhood. And she says now what she loves about the restaurant, she goes, because it's small little bar restaurant, I would say, is that she said that she's seen such a great transition in the neighborhood that now she has no problem let her female patrons walk out and walk back home because of the transitions that happen in the neighborhood. So we see it every time. Like, it's just like before there was no young families, and a good way that we look at transitional neighborhoods is because basically is we look at the people, what's going on, and now you see the younger family, the $1,000 strollers. It's a nice thing to see. And what we do too is when we invest in properties too, we also, part of the profit, we reinvest it back in the community for neighborhood incentives. So if it's cleaning up the streets, community gardens, and so forth, we always try to give back a little bit. So it doesn't kind of feel good. It feels good to see that you're doing positive change. Overall, the community's happy with stuff, but you still have the people that don't like it, that we're moving in, we're doing a bit of changes. But if you look at the communities before and after, you can't compare.
Okay, nice. So I know you talked a bit about the first you started buying real estate in you did a house hack in Ottawa, and then you started buying in New Brunswick, and then you switched to Philadelphia. Some people might be like, that's crazy, right? That you're buying out of out of province or out of state, right? That you're buying in somewhere where you can't physically. It's not easy that you can just hop in your car in a 30-minute drive. You can go see the property. It's it's a couple hours to maybe it's actually a plane flight to actually get to that property. So how did you actually, were you a little bit afraid to invest in these markets that they were so far away? And if so, how did you sort of overcome that fear?
So the first deal is always the hardest deal, I find, in anything. So my first is a true story. So when I first invested in New Brunswick, I had my flight booked. It was a Monday. I think it was on my birthday around 5-6 years ago. I show up to the airport, and then they said there's a big lineup at security, and I could not board the plane. They said you have to come back tomorrow. But I'm like, I needed to go to the lawyers. It was a Monday, and I had to be at the lawyers at 12 the next day to sign off on this property because I was part of my offers. I needed to physically inspect the property with my property management team, and so I couldn't board the plane. And then I asked for a delay, and everybody's like, "Oh, this guy's got cold feet." And then around 11 o'clock that night, I wasn't feeling good. And I told my wife, I said, "You got to drive me to the hospital." She thought I was just joking around with her. So we drove to the hospital. I was having a hard time breathing. My heart, I was beating super fast. I was sweating. I was just myself. So they thought I was having a heart attack. So was in the hospital overnight. I was getting discharged around 4 a.m. My flight was at 6. It ended up that they think I had a panic attack because it was the first time I was doing something. So I wasn't able to fly for a week. And essentially, I still did the deal over the phone and by pictures and by emails. And the following week, I flew down, and that's kind of how I started it. You gotta sometimes let go a little bit and trust the people that you're doing business with. And back then, I didn't even know what I was doing, right? But as you get better, we trust our partners. We don't really visit the properties that we invest in. We probably go up 3 to 4 times a year just to catch up with them, and just to kind of see the neighborhoods that they're going to be doing, seeing their progress on the other work and so forth. And it's just good to hang out and to have that relationship with your team. So that's kind of how I progressed into real estate. Just started trusting the process. In Philadelphia, I don't really fly up to go see every deal. When I first did quite a bit of deals in New Brunswick, I was flying up quite a bit to go visit the properties. But at the end of the day, I think it's about just trusting your team and backing them up if things don't go wrong too. But we're all about trust, and we're all about transparency, and our team's the same way.
Okay, yeah, that's a very incredible story. I actually didn't know that that happened to you when you had the panic attack, because you were doing something like you were taking that big leap, right? Which is for a lot of people, which is really scary when you're starting to put big chunks of money that you've worked hard for towards something. It's at the beginning, and you don't really know what's going to happen, and you hope it's going to turn out for the best. So yeah, that was really good on your part that you actually pushed through that instead of that some people maybe might have stopped or said maybe this isn't for me. But do you still, you probably don't get that now, right? Now it's just it's normal for to invest in real estate in Philadelphia and all that sort of stuff, that you probably don't get nervous that much.
We don't even think twice about the deals. We just look at the numbers. We just talk to the team a little bit. We'll talk to our GC that's in charge of the construction a little bit sometimes, but the majority of the time we just trust our guys in the US. When they provide us a deal, we just look at the piece of paper and we say yay or nay, and then we go from there.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So we're coming to the end here. Just on an ending note, what sort of, let's say for somebody just a young person wanting to get into real estate, what piece of advice would you have for them?
Hang out with people that do this all day long. I think this is the key. Join, again, I'll say it again, join your local real estate investor meetup. Create one if you don't have one. Brand yourself, get your domain name. Just hang out where the guys that do this hang out. And if you don't know where to start, if there's no real estate investing group in your area, just connect with the better real estate agents in your city, and then see who are they selling properties to. If they're selling to investors, and create a relationship with that agent to introduce you to that person investing in real estate. It could be that, you're doing some errands around the properties, cutting the grass and so forth. And so you get your feet wet and you hang out with those people, and they teach you a few things and they bring you on board. And I think that's the key to learning is always surrounding yourself with people. And that's what I'm doing too. I'm good friends with a few developers now in Philadelphia that I have not done business with, just from having conversation, meeting them when we go down to Philadelphia and so forth. And eventually, those relationships will end up being business relationships.
Yeah, that's actually some awesome advice. Thank you for that. So where can people actually find out more about you and your company?
So we got a website called madapartners.com, and I have my own personal branding website, mathieulacaire.com, that will be launching at the end of June. But you guys can connect with me there, Facebook or even Instagram.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you very much, Matt, for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and I wish you all the best with your company and the future projects.
Thanks for having me on, Max.